When the world changes, those in power don't just react, they try to shape it. And right now, Donald Trump isn't just engaging Europe diplomatically. He's reshaping the rules of influence in the Arctic. This isn't a simple political debate. It's about control over resources, trade routes, and the future of global power. And the spotlight is on Greenland. For nearly a century, America and Europe were more than allies. They were partners. They built economies together, protected each other through NATO, coordinated on trade, security, and diplomacy. But now, cracks are appearing. Partnerships that seemed unshakable are under pressure. At the center of this tension lies Greenland, the world's largest island, mostly covered in ice. Trump's interest in Greenland isn't curiosity or speculation. It's strategy, because whoever has influence in the Arctic shapes global trade, resource control, and military logistics for decades to come. Greenland is more than ice and snow. It's a strategic powerhouse waiting to be tapped. Under the ice lie vast reserves of rare earth minerals critical for electronics and defense technology, energy resources, including untapped oil and natural gas, new shipping lanes opening due to melting ice, which could shorten Europe-Asia trade routes by weeks, military positions that control Arctic air and sea routes. The Arctic is no longer a frozen periphery. It's the new geopolitical chessboard. Russia is expanding its Arctic military presence, creating bases along the Northern Sea route. China is investing heavily in polar infrastructure, seeking influence in mining, shipping, and research. And Trump's vision is clear. The United States must establish dominance before other powers can consolidate control. In 2019, Trump proposed buying Greenland from Denmark, an audacious idea that made headlines worldwide. Denmark didn't hesitate to reject it, and they didn't do it quietly. The Danish Prime Minister publicly dismissed the proposal as absurd. To Trump, this wasn't just a diplomatic setback, it was a challenge. He doesn't back down from challenges. Instead, he signals expectations through policy and pressure. Following Denmark's refusal, Trump threatened economic measures and used trade leverage to show that U.S. cooperation comes with conditions. Suddenly, a decades-old alliance between the U.S. and Europe faced serious tension. Trump's primary tool is economic influence. Tariffs are not just taxes. They are strategic levers. Potential tariffs on European exports included German cars and machinery, French steel and wine technology from the UK, Sweden, and other Nordic nations, every shipment delayed. Every tax imposed sends a message. Economic cooperation is conditional. Europe feels it not only in trade revenue, but also in political leverage. In global politics, economics and influence are inseparable. Europe is not a passive player. The European Union is an economic giant, responsible for nearly a quarter of global GDP. European leaders responded with calculated measures, reviewing tariffs and adjusting duties on American goods, limiting dependence on U.S. energy imports. Strengthening internal trade coordination, what began as a single proposal about Greenland escalated into a broader discussion on influence, trade, and long-term strategy between allies. The U.S.-Europe relationship, once stable, was now being tested like never before. Greenland is symbolic of a broader issue: influence. Trump believes that Europe relies excessively on the U.S. for security, contributes unevenly to NATO funding, often resists policies aligned with U.S. interests. In Trump's view, alliances aren't partnerships, they are systems of influence. The United States must remain at the center. When Europe pushes back, he interprets it as a challenge to American leadership. Greenland becomes more than a territory. It becomes a test of global authority. Trump's approach is not confined to policy memos. It extends to public perception. By highlighting divisions in Europe and emphasizing American strength, Trump aims to shift the narrative. Europe is divided. America is decisive. This isn't confrontation in the traditional sense. It's influence through messaging, perception, and pressure. Subtle but powerful. The Arctic is no longer a frozen backwater. As ice melts, oil and gas reserves become accessible. Trade routes shorten significantly, connecting Asia and Europe. Military and strategic positions emerge along the Northern Sea route. Whoever exerts influence over Greenland can guide trade flows, energy, logistics, and international partnerships for decades. For the U.S., Greenland is not optional. It's a key pillar in a strategy to maintain global leadership and secure Arctic access. Analysts now describe U.S.-Europe relations as an economic competition, a test of influence rather than force, instead of soldiers or weapons. The tools are policy adjustments, tariffs and trade agreements, political leverage and strategic partnerships, negotiation, strategy, and influence are now the main battlegrounds for power between allies. If tensions continue, expect wide-reaching effects. Global trade routes could shift to reduce dependence on U.S. or European hubs. Prices of essential goods could fluctuate. Affecting international markets, NATO coordination might require re-evaluation. Policy alignments and diplomatic priorities may change when traditional allies have differing strategies. The ripple effects are felt worldwide. Even minor disagreements can influence global trade, energy, and security policies. Greenland itself is more than geography. It is a climate bellwether. Monitoring melting ice and global temperature trends, it holds resources vital to 21st-century technologies. Its strategic location allows surveillance and navigation across the Arctic. This makes Greenland a centerpiece not just for the U.S. and Europe, but for Russia, China, and other global actors. In essence, control or influence here equates to shaping the future of the Arctic and global power structures. Trump's Greenland initiative is part of a broader long-term strategy. Asserts U.S. influence in regions critical for resources-use trade as leverage to ensure alignment with U.S. policies. Prevent other powers, especially China and Russia, from gaining uncontested control. Demonstrate that alliances are conditional, not automatic. It's a high-stakes game of economics, strategy, and global messaging, all conducted without military conflict, but with the full weight of American influence behind it. The stakes go beyond politics. Economically, global shipping and energy markets depend on Arctic access. Politically, decisions in Greenland signal to allies and rivals alike environmentally. Greenland is a front line of climate monitoring impacting sea levels and weather patterns globally. This is why Greenland has captured attention from presidents, ministers, and multinational corporations alike. Trump isn't using military force. He's using strategy, leverage, and influence. Greenland is the trigger. The Arctic is the prize. Trade, diplomacy, and policy are the tools. The question is, will Europe cooperate or pursues its own path? Trump doesn't just want agreement. He seeks leadership and influence, and he is prepared to adjust strategies to achieve it, shaping the Arctic, alliances, and the future of global power.